The Trump administration has enacted a pause on all applications filed by or on behalf of individuals that entered the United States under certain parole programs, under Biden parole programs, such as Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, Venezuela, Uniting for Ukraine, and family reunification programs. So all of these individuals that entered the U.S. under these programs now have their applications paused. These applications can vary, such as TPS, employment authorization, naturalization applications as well. So unfortunately, all of these individuals now have their applications paused due to national security concerns, fraud concerns. This decision was issued, this internal memo was issued on February 14th of this year. So it's a very recent decision that unfortunately impacts a lot of people.
Trump administration is now planning to deport more than 530,000 legal immigrants in the United States. You heard that right. Legal. Let me explain. This is new reporting from CBS News. The Trump administration is revoking the legal status of 530,000 Cubans, Haitians, Nicaraguans, and Venezuelans. So these immigrants came to the United States legally under a Biden-era sponsorship process, and now the Trump administration is urging them to self-deport or face arrest and removal by deportation agents. CBS says that the termination of their work permits and deportation protections under an immigration authority known as PAROLE will take effect in late April, 30 days after March 25th, according to a notice posted by the federal government. And the Department of Homeland Security said it will seek the arrest and deportation of those subject to the policy change if they fail to depart the U.S. in the next 30 days. Officials are urging migrants to use the newly repurposed CBP Home smartphone app to register for self-deportation.
So while watching this video, you guys have to keep in mind, okay, please remember, Biden did do this first, like in terms of pausing the program due to fraud and so many other things. I believe I talked about this before. Trump is the one that basically ended the program as well as basically ending TPS. So do with that what you will. I'm the Mademoiselle in Sassy Deuxième Chanel. And as you guys can tell by today's title, today we're going to be talking about Trump revoking TPS status as well as the end of the Biden parole program. Now, if you've been here before or you've seen my previous videos on the topic, I do have a whole entire playlist because, to be quite honest with you, I was not down with the Biden parole program. I felt like it would do way more harm than good. However, in retrospect, the countries that were granted TPS as well as Biden parole status were countries that needed them the most at the time and honestly still need them now. My reservations came from the fact that the barrier to entry was extremely low, especially for the sponsors. You didn't have to have that much income to bring someone in. And from what I remember, the income requirements were like, honestly, I feel like, okay, don't quote me on it. I'm gonna put it on the screen. I feel like the salary requirement was like really low. It's like you can barely take care of yourself with this salary. And I was like, yeah, this is not going to help the the sponsor. Okay, this is not going to help the person that are sponsoring these people and fostering them in. However, I will say that a lot of people's lives were saved by this program, and it did do a lot of good for the migrants that came here. Over time, I started to develop mixed feelings about it because on one hand, I feel like a lot of people benefited, but on the other hand, I feel like a lot of people didn't. Now, of course, the Biden parole program was met with loads of criticism, so much pushback, but it did indeed foster over 500,000 people here in the United States. But unfortunately, this led to a lot of people just showing up in droves at the border. So the countries that were granted the Biden parole program were Haiti, Cuba, Nicaragua, and Venezuela. These countries have insane political and social unrest. Therefore, the program was made so that these people can come here temporarily, work, and go back. Now, what's really interesting about this is I realized that a lot of people didn't realize they would more than likely have to go back, probably because a lot of people expected Biden to be elected president again and they would figure something out, let these people stay. Unfortunately, due to all of the drama that the Biden parole program started, that just was not going to be the case. And obviously, he did not win the election. And there is honestly almost a completely different White House right now. Like, everything is up in the air.
To the name the airports where the migrants arrived, that was filed by the Center for Immigration Studies. They told them, in part, if disclosed, it would reveal operational vulnerabilities that could be exploited by bad actors. So no answer on where these people were going. While we see massive groups of migrants crossing illegally at the southern border every day, the migrants in this CHNV program are able to apply for asylum. How? Will they use a cell phone app to do it? There are strict eligibility requirements, though, for this program, including having a supporter in the United States, undergoing security vetting, and then once the 2 years are up, they must apply for renewal or leave the country. So we'll see how that plays out. Republicans arguing that the migrants using Biden's parole program will end up staying here illegally, and several GOP states have already sued the Biden administration over the legality of this program. We're still waiting on a ruling on that.
So when it comes to TPS stands for temporary protected status. People in the Biden parole program were granted such for at least the 2 years. But of course, like, everybody expected it to be extended. And then, of course, there's other people that are just on regular TPS who just got here. I have family who literally been on TPS for decades, and I just don't understand it. Like, go take the damn test or go do something. It's very sad and it's extremely unfortunate. And I will say that this is nothing new, right? TPS has been something that's been around, especially since Haiti's earthquake. But there were people that had it prior. Like, I know for a fact my dad was on TPS for a minute. Okay, so that's why I'm sitting here trying to think to myself, like, I don't know why this is becoming such an issue now. Like, I feel like since things go viral and people talk about them all the time, that's when we start really thinking into things. But it is not okay to be on TPS for that extended amount of time because you have things like this happening. And a lot of you guys are probably like, well, they could just get married, or, you know, they can try to find another way. Like, honestly, if the TPS program gets cut, like, literally that's it. Same thing with the Biden parole program. They have until the middle of April to get their act together or be deported within 30 days of that announcement. And to be quite honest with you, this is actually type terrifying because it's like, wait, like, y'all about to have ICE out here just like picking people up after 30 days. And we already know that's something that's been going on already, especially since Trump came into office and he made it his point to go after illegal immigrants.
The Biden administration did put a temporary parole in place for people from certain countries like Ukraine, Venezuela, Cuba, and Haiti. They applied outside of the United States and came into the United States through legal means where they have been paroled. Now, one of the cruelest things that the Trump administration is doing is that they're allowing expedited removal for these people, even if they have time left on their parole status. This is not right.
Now, understand, right? As much as I do not agree with the Biden parole program, I also do not agree with families being ripped apart. There's so many people out there that have family, loved ones, spouses, or whatever case may be, that are on TPS or in the Biden parole program. And this is going to cause extreme emotional distress. Like, I just don't see the point. Like, I feel like they're here. Why not accommodate them? Why not try to figure out a way to let them stay? Now, of course, a lot of the pushback has been the fact that a lot of them have been getting aid that obviously the traditional U.S. permanent resident or citizen does not get. And I'm not going to hold you. I agree with y'all on that. I did not know that the Biden parole program, people were out here getting stipends. Like, they got like straight cash, like every month, or some of them got their money in a lump sum. And I'm just like, that's crazy because you got Americans out here fucking starving. I don't agree with that. And I will say, when it comes to people like complaining about immigration and they say things like that, like, I completely agree. I don't like it because you have these people that came straight through the gate with money in their pockets, health care, food stamps. And it's just like, what about us, right? Like, I completely get it. But I guess from a humanitarian standpoint, it makes sense. You allowed them to come here, I guess. So as you guys can tell, I feel like my opinions have changed since I started making the videos in this series. Although I do not agree with it and I really did not like it at the time, I still do not think it makes any logical sense to be ripping people away from their loved ones and their families. At this point, something needs to be done so that they can stay here permanently, because that is really going to be causing so much more harm internationally than they think it is. Now, when it comes to illegal immigration, I do not agree with it. I don't think that it's okay. I feel like if you come into a country illegally, you have to face the ramifications of doing so. No one is above the law. Illegal immigration is insanely problematic when you could sit here and do things the right way. It's going to take some money. It's going to take some time, but you know that your place in wherever it is that you're trying to migrate to is secured. I don't like the fact that they be granted asylum. I don't like the fact that they be granted benefits. I don't like the fact that literally a lot of them do have an upper hand. So that part of the argument, I completely understand. But for the people that came here legally, I do not think it is fair that we welcome them and then now we're just kicking them out. I really hope something gets done, but I'm not going to lie to you. Part of me feels like it's really going to get insanely bad. Part of my reservations with the Biden parole program was the fact that it was literally tearing families apart. You had Haitian families out here trying to get their younger siblings, family members, and kids, etc., to sponsor these people that they wanted to bring in. And of course, 99% of us was like, hell the fuck no. Like, because at the end of the day, when you are a sponsor for someone, like literally you are saying you are responsible for this person in this country, whatever it is that they do, like, you know, you're going to handle it. Like literally, it's like you're bringing in someone. So a lot of people, especially in the Haitian American diaspora, was like, hell the fuck no. Like I was asked numerous times, all my cousins were asked numerous times, and I'm not going to hold you. I'm happy I didn't do it because I don't even have to worry about this right now. A lot of my family didn't come anyway, but it's really sad to think about because a lot of them, not a lot, but I have at least 3 members of my family that were supposed to come over who died since the year started. And I'm not going to say that if they came to the United States, things would be different, but maybe it would have because they all died mainly due to sickness and stress. And it wasn't like, oh, they had cancer and they died. It was more of like the stress of running away from vandals and bandits and all of that literally caused them to have adverse medical reactions that resulted in their death. I'm not going to say I wish they had came here, to be quite honest with you. I just wish that all of these countries that have the Biden parole program would be aided in legitimate help. Okay, like when it comes to Haiti, Nicaragua, Venezuela, Cuba, every single one of these countries and more have been affected by a lot of decisions that the United States has made.
A secret. Even the government sometimes lies, because the government is made up of people, and people sometimes lie.
Shocker!
Here's an example. When I came into office, the relationship between the United States and Cuba was very tense, but the American public was not in favor of a war.
Nor was I as a Cuban living in Cuba.
But some people in the government wanted to manipulate our citizens into supporting the war.
How?
Our military leaders came up with a plan to stage an attack. They proposed that we bomb Miami and other American cities and then blame it on Cuba.
So they were going to kill Americans?
And then lie about it?
This is real. It's called Operation Northwoods.
I'm reading it now. Whew, this is dark.
Holy smokes. What did you do about it, President Kennedy?
I stood up to them, fired the Joint Chiefs of Staff who proposed the plan, and stopped the attacks from happening.
Wow, that's brave.
You should question everything. People are always claiming things they can't back up with facts, or repeating headlines they've read.
In 1898, a mysterious explosion changed history forever. A U.S. battleship sank in Havana Harbor, and just like that, America had the perfect excuse for war. But was it an accident, or an old money empire's master plan? Cuba, just 90 miles from Florida, a gold mine of sugar, trade, and power. For decades, old money families wanted it, a new playground for wealth and control. Then came February 15, 1898. The USS Maine exploded in Havana Harbor. 260 men died. Within hours, the U.S. blamed Spain. Within weeks, war began. And just like that, Spain was crushed. Cuba was up for grabs. America was ready to claim it, the 51st state. Another Florida, another Texas. Then, a plot twist. The Teller Amendment appeared out of nowhere, a promise Cuba would be free. But was it? Not quite. The Platt Amendment followed. Cuba was independent on paper. In reality, the U.S. controlled it all. Politics, economy, even claimed Guantanamo Bay forever.
Let's talk about the U.S. invasion and occupation of Haiti. In the early 1800s, Haiti overthrew the French in the largest slave insurrection in history. In turn, the U.S. placed a trade embargo on Haiti, and France demanded Haiti pay an independence debt. Haiti also experienced instability throughout its history, much of which was due to unfair debt and foreign interference. Between 1911 and 1915, 7 Haitian presidents were assassinated or overthrown. During that turmoil and a growing fear of German influence in Haiti, National City Bank of New York seized Haiti's only commercial bank that also served as the state treasury. In 1914, National City Bank destabilized Haiti and with the help of the U.S. government transported Haiti's entire gold reserve to Wall Street. In 1915, a revolt against this repressive Haitian president threatened U.S. profits, especially the sugar industry. When a rebel leader emerged as president, President Woodrow Wilson then ordered an official U.S. invasion of Haiti and installed this man as president without the consent of its citizens. The invasion ended with the Haitian-American Treaty of 1915, which created the Gendarmerie, a military force made up of U.S. Marines and Haitians. The treaty also gave the U.S. power to appoint officials, to veto decisions, and to control Haiti's economy. The U.S. then diverted 40% of Haiti's income to the U.S. Haitian rebels called KrikKrakCOZ immediately resisted this invasion. The U.S. violently suppressed them in the First KrikKrakCOZ War. In 1917, Wilson drafted a new Haitian constitution to allow foreigners to buy land. When the Haitian legislature rejected this constitution, the U.S. dissolved the entire legislature, taking what little voice Haitians had left, and then implemented the new constitution. The U.S. immediately enacted martial law, introduced racist Jim Crow laws, abolished liberal arts education, persecuted voodoo, and implemented forced labor to build infrastructure, which resulted in the deaths of hundreds of thousands. These acts led to a second wave of resistance. Killing of civilians, lynchings, and torture were committed to suppress this revolt. Marines shot civilians for sport, and prisoners were routinely executed. The U.S. even used planes to bomb villages. In 1929, U.S. Marines fired upon people peacefully protesting in Lakai, resulting in over a dozen civilian deaths and causing international outrage. Under FDR, the U.S. ended the occupation and the last Marines left in 1934, but the U.S. still acquired roughly 20% of Haiti's annual revenue and controlled their economy until 1947. Haiti's loans were just forgiven after the devastating 2010 earthquake, and Citibank still hasn't returned the millions worth of gold. Today, Haiti is still recovering from centuries of foreign intervention, which inevitably causes migration. Did you know this history?
People hesitate to come here.
There hasn't been a violent crime here in years. Even stealing is virtually unheard of. In fact, a recent study by the United Nations reported Haiti to be one of the safest countries in the world. 85% of the hand-sewn baseballs in America come from Haiti.
The U.S. government has been trying to strangle the Venezuelan economy. It started with sanctions in 2017 that prevented essentially the country from accessing international capital markets and the oil company from restructuring its loans. That put Venezuela into a hyperinflation. That was the utter collapse. Oil earnings plummeted. The earnings that are used to buy food and medicine collapsed. That's when the social humanitarian crisis went spiraling out of control. And then in this year is with this idea, very naive, very stupid in my view, that there would be this self-proclaimed president, which was all choreographed with the United States very, very closely. Another round of even tighter sanctions, essentially confiscating the earnings and the assets of the Venezuelan government took place. Now Venezuela is in complete, utter catastrophe. A lot of it brought on by the United States deliberately, creating massive, massive suffering. We know there's hunger. We know there's incredible shortage of medical supplies. We can only imagine, because we won't know really until the dust settles and careful studies are done, how much excess mortality there is. But surely in a context like this, this is a catastrophe largely created by the U.S. because, as was said earlier, this is an all-or-nothing strategy. What the U.S., what Trump just doesn't understand, and what Bolton, of course, never agrees to, is the idea of negotiations. This is an attempt at an overthrow. It's very crude, it's not working, and it's very cruel because it's punishing 30 million people.
The U.S. Army is ready to enter Venezuela to confront the dictatorship of Nicolas Maduro. The director of the Department of Defense has reported that the U.S. Army is prepared to enter Venezuela. It has also been announced that President Bukele is located within Venezuelan territory. Bukele reportedly entered Venezuela with Edmundo Gonzalez and several former presidents from around the world. The plan was to distract the dictatorship with the appearance of Maria Corina Machado for them to be able to enter the country. In a few hours, Venezuela's future will change course, with nothing less than the U.S. Army backing the opposition. Dictator Nicolas Maduro has two options: hand over the presidential command by force and escape to Russia in peace, or end up in prison or in a cell, said President Bukele. Meanwhile, the head of the U.S. Security Department has assured that they are hoping to get the green light to enter Venezuela.
Nicaragua versus the USA at the ICJ. Quick context: in 1979, the Sandinistas overthrew the Somoza family dictatorship and established a new government. Originally, the U.S. supported the Sandinistas, but because of their far-left politics, they changed their support to the Contras. This is where our story begins. The Sandinistas had much success in Nicaragua and had extended their support to El Salvador. The U.S. was like, nah, we don't like that. So they started funding the Contras. And Nicaragua was like, LOL, let's go to court. So in 1984, that's what they did. They went to the ICJ and stated that the U.S. had violated a treaty and international customary laws. They also brought up that the U.S. was mining the ocean and not allowing free travel, as well as flying aircrafts overhead. So the ICJ was like, let's check this out. At first, the U.S. was like, let's go. But then the ICJ said they didn't violate international treaties, but they did violate international customary law. And in order for the U.S. to properly testify, they had to admit that they were mining the oceans and disclose the locations. And the U.S. was like, peace out. We actually don't recognize you, and you have no power. And the ICJ was like, what? So they moved forward and ruled in favor of Nicaragua and ordered the U.S. to pay reparations. Also, I forgot to mention that the U.S. tried to do this whole self-defense attack, saying that they acted in self-defense of El Salvador. What? To this day, the U.S. has not paid reparations to Nicaragua, thus proving that if the country is strong enough, they literally don't have to act on what the ICJ rules.
The United States has bombed all of the following countries since World War II. To begin, we do not have to travel far. In Central America, the United States has bombed Panama, Nicaragua, El Salvador, Grenada, the Dominican Republic, and Cuba. Moving across the ocean to Africa, we have Libya, Sudan, and Somalia. In Europe, the list consists of former Yugoslavian countries, namely Serbia, Bosnia, Kosovo, and Montenegro. Next is the Middle East, where the US dropped bombs on Yemen, Syria, Lebanon, Iraq, Kuwait, Iran, Pakistan, and Afghanistan. Moving to East Asia, we have Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam, Indonesia, Japan, and Korea. Finally, during the bombardment of Belgrade, a few bombs hit the Chinese embassy. So I've included China to the list as well. This is how the completed map looks like. So, do you know of any country that has bombed this many countries?
Isn't it interesting how familiar all of this sounds? If you guys have been watching my videos that I've been doing on Haiti and a few other countries for years, you'll see how familiar all of it sounds. It's literally the same cycle. That's why when people sit there and they're like, oh, well, it's Haitians' fault. Okay, so in that case, it's all these countries' fault as well, right? Nicaragua, Venezuela, Cuba, countries that I didn't even mention. All the things that the U.S. sat here and did to these people, sat here taking their presidents and all of that. Like, it's insane because a lot of the same things that happen in these other countries happen in Haiti, and it's always Haitians' fault. Like, come on now. I do not like the fact that the United States now likes to turn a blind eye to the destruction that it has had in many of these countries and countries I didn't even mention, because at that point you are really responsible for what's going on. And a lot of people might be like, well, no, Haitians are this, and well, Hispanics are that, and the Latin community. Like, at the end of the day, a lot of what the United States and a lot of these other countries did to these countries is part of the reason why they are the way they are today. Again, part, not all. Part of the reason. From the political unrest in Haiti to the constant dictatorships in Cuba to the same situations going on in Haiti happening in Nicaragua, in Venezuela, the United States has sat here and sought out these countries and unfortunately aided in their demise. Therefore, I feel like they and a lot of other countries are responsible for at least trying to help. But I'm also of the opinion that Haiti needs to fix itself. This whole idea of going to other countries and seeking asylum and getting citizenship when never going back home to fix the problem is causing more problems. They are literally instilling brain drain in Haiti. And I don't think people understand that. Brain drain is when one country is depleted of all its resources and people who could actually help. So the doctors, the lawyers, the engineers, everyone that can be very beneficial to a country just ups, leaves, and retains citizenship in another country to never go back because, obviously life is better in that other country. But I realize one of the key issues with Haiti and a lot of these countries is a lot of people leave and they never come back. If you leave your homeland and you never go back, Like, you're literally contributing to the problem. Us as a diaspora, we really do need to do more. Of course, all of us send money, but that's really not enough. Like, at this point, we just gonna have to figure something else out. I don't know what it is, but we have to figure something else out, because like it's getting to a point where it's just like, all right, how long are we going to be doing the same song and dance? It's interesting because the conversation around migration in the United States is always so ignorant to me, because literally the country was founded on stealing land and the invitation of migrants and immigrants alike. Literally, immigrants are the fabric of the United States. Literally, the telephone was invented by Scottish immigrant Alexander Graham Bell. The basketball was invented by Canadian immigrant Dr. James Naismith. Video games, German-born Ralph Bayer. Literally Google, made by Larry Page, born in the United States. However, also made by Sergey Brin, who was born in Russia. I know we all love our denim. Levi, Bavarian immigrant, who brought it to the United States while gold miners were literally in the trenches. The electric elevator, you know, that all of us enjoy every single day. Elisha Graves Otis, an English immigrant, and immigrants and migrants alike are responsible for so many things that we use every single day. It is wild. I'm going to put some on the screen right now. So it genuinely bothers me, and it truly disgusts me when people try to talk shit about migrants and immigrants and say they do not contribute to society and they're criminals and they're this and they're that. Like, that is just genuinely not the case. Literally, something that you're using on a consistent basis was more than likely made by a migrant or an immigrant. I genuinely do not understand the hate, but I can understand why a lot of people think that a lot of the treatment that they get is unfair, especially when it comes to people coming here illegally. Now, when it comes to ICE picking up people, right? I feel like this is very terrifying for a lot of people. But what people do need to understand is this is not new. Okay, this is not new. ICE been picking up people for a minute, like literally to the point where my mom was telling me stories of how they used to pull up to her job all the time. My dad was telling me how they used to pull up to his job all the time and, you know, get all the illegals out there. Like, the idea that people think that ICE is just now picking up migrants is wild. Like, that is not a thing. That's always been a thing. It is nothing new. Again, if you come here illegally, you have to face the repercussions of those actions. You understand that you may get caught, you may get deported, you may not be able to come back here ever again. Stop with the madness, right? I understand that everybody hates Trump, but unfortunately right now, that's one of his main agendas, is getting the illegal migrants out of here. And at this point now, he's targeting legal migrants. So yeah, I think it's safe to say that that is part of his agenda. But I will say, yeah, ICE has always done raids. ICE has always been out here doing things. I had a friend that worked for ICE or whatever. Like, trust me, this is not new at all. I really do hope that something gets done about the Biden parole program and TPS, because it's not okay to rip these families apart, instill this type of fear in people. A lot of these people that came through the Biden parole program, a lot of these people who are on TPS literally help us see the world as it is today. They are hardworking people. They are tax-paying people. They are people who are embedded into our fabric of society. And sending these people back on TPS, sending these people back who are from the Biden parole program is going to fuck us up so bad. Like, you're literally affecting millions of people. But I will say, right, I have always said these countries do need to fix themselves, so maybe that will help, but just not right now. Like, the state of all these countries is just, bro, okay? Like, it's not a good look. And I really, really want you guys to comment down below. Like, what do you guys think should be done so that they can stay? What are some valid solutions? Because honestly, I just feel like it should be extended. But I did know, like, in the back of my head, like, this was probably going to happen. Even if Biden was reelected, it was going to be something that got brought back up, because this shit became an entire shit show. We had migrants sleeping in airports. We had the Republican states sending all of the migrants to Democrat states, and then everything was overwhelmed, shelters, all types of shit. They were out here paying people to keep migrants. So I knew that this was going to be a hot ass mess, to be quite honest. But I also remember that it was temporary. But unfortunately, none of these countries have gotten better, and it's just not going to help sending them back. So with that being said, make sure you guys like, share, subscribe. But I want to run something by you guys real quick. I'm thinking of starting a membership on this channel. Some of you guys are on my Patreon, but I know that there's specific content that you guys want to see on this channel that you wouldn't mind being a member of. Let me know some ideas down below. With that being said, like, share, and subscribe, and I'm going to see y'all next time. Bye!